In this episode of Fictional Hangover, we talk about magic and tomfoolery, a blanket fort war with blackberry preserves and magical underpants, cuss words, and the Macarena, in our discussion of Mysteries of Thorn Manor by Margaret Rogerson, featuring Superfan Brie for our discussion. Hey everybody, welcome to Fictional Hangover, a podcast about young adult and new adults, and sometimes middle grade books, series authors and voice actors,
Still in debate.
and illustrators.
Still
It's full of spoilers.
Still discussing it. Oh wait, I just spoil everything.
I'm Amanda.
And I'm Claire, and today we're going to discuss Mysteries of Thorn Manor by Margaret Rogerson.
Mysteries of Thorn Manor. Mysteries of Thorn Manor.
Mystery wrapped in special sauce. Enigma.
Standard disclaimer. If you haven't read this book, please remember that Fictional Hangover is all about spoilers. If you haven't read or listened and don't want to be spoiled, stop listening to us and go read or listen to the book, then come back. If you haven't done this but want to pretend that you have, or if you don't care about spoilers, or if you just like the show so much that you don't care about any of that, then listen up. Listen up, I say.
I must listen. Speak louder. One cannot hear a delicate voice.
I don't even know what's happening.
Nobody does.
Nobody does.
Nobody.
Nobody
Hey!
understands.
Oh, excuse me, as my hip horse.
Why the long face, oh chap?
Would one like to grace this discussion with some background information?
I would, I say.
Capital.
In an interview with pastemagazine.com,
You were doing so well.
I know. The interviewer says, I love the cozy mystery vibe of this book, the colorful hidden rooms in Thorn Manor, and the low-stakes problems to be solved, and the semi-sentient house that gets mad when Elizabeth and Nathaniel make out. I can't! What made you choose such a more deliberately lighter tone for this follow-up? And Margaret Rogerson replies, Thank you! The hidden rooms were some of the most fun parts to write. Oh, Thorn Manor, always clutching its pearls. I will say that, in general, I love writing light-hearted stories. I feel that my writing is at its strongest when I'm being a little silly. I'm hoping that Mysteries will be a runaway success, and my publisher will stroke their chin wisely and think, yes, maybe we should let Margaret write even more stories with evil underpants. Oh, underpants.
Undergarments and vegetables. I must clutch
My pearls.
That was darling and simply capital. I quite
Topping.
enjoyed that information.
Spiffing.
Spiffing. What, old chap? Do you have any initial thoughts as we delve deeper into the mysteries of Thorn Manor?
I do. I'm returning to myself for a moment. I love revisiting this world. We talked about the first book with Superfan Brie joining us for Would You Rather. And so now, this time, Superfan Brie is going to join us for the entire discussion. So that's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to take a short break after we finish. Probably come back wearing different clothes and different makeup.
Excuse me.
Spoiler alert. It will be a different day.
Excuse me, one does not wear the same garments to have a summary, and then another the same for a discussion? No. Tis simply not done.
How absolutely pedestrian.
We must put on our couture for our guests. I'm just going to say, me too!
Yay!
I'm actually re-listening to Sorcery of Thorns right now as well, just for fun, because I love it and I'm so enjoying it. It's really comfort reading. It's really good.
It is, yeah.
And
It
so
is.
you need to listen to the book, read the book, and listen to our podcast because it was great.
Yes.
Even if one does
yes,
say so
definitely.
themselves.
We're tooting our own horn.
Toot toot.
Haunted. My pearls.
Oh, there, old chap. She will delve into the depths of the summary. Yeah, let's just do it.
We shall.
Let's stop that.
We shall.
Apologies. Sorry, not sorry.
Animated topiaries and a magical gale blow outside Thorn Manor. Nathaniel Thorn didn't have another nightmare last night, so it wasn't the audacious sorcerer's fault. This time. Besides, Elizabeth would have noticed because she spent the night in his bedroom again. Oh. That must have something to do with the wards. Beyond the cacophony, a crowd has gathered, and among them, reporters calling to Elizabeth and Nathaniel. They want to know if Nathaniel has lost control of his magic, or if his demon is back, or if this craziness will impact him hosting the midwinter ball. Let's just close the door on all that for now.
Nathaniel declares he quite enjoys the maelstrom, but Elizabeth, ever the practical one, points out they are being trapped inside the house. And even though it is quite lovely, part of the roof just flew off. Nathaniel, ever the anti-socialist optimist, says they have provisions enough for a while, so everything will be fine. Yeah, no. Elizabeth draws her sword, demon slayer, and charges out the door. She's back moments later, being chased by Thorny Vine, shouting, "The heads grow back!" while she slashes at them. Of course they do. Mercy enters the foyer then, and at least has the presence of mind to trap the dismembered thrashing vine in an overturned dustbin. Nathaniel fake despairs that this will take weeks to sort out. Oh no! Which is when Elizabeth remembers one of the reporters mentioning a midwinter ball.
Elizabeth rounds on Nathaniel, who explains that the midwinter ball is a torturous event for stuffy sorcerers. But Silas, from the hall, clarifies that it's a social occasion. Isn't that what Nathaniel said? Hello? Silas could be mistaken for a ghost, as he is a pale fraction of his former self, but he's quite real, and we're so glad that he's back. Oh,
Silas
my
is
gosh.
back.
He explains the tradition of the ball, and Nathaniel's shiftiness proves Elizabeth's supposition correct. Nathaniel is meant to host this year.
As they eat dinner, they consider what could have triggered the wards to react in the last 24 hours. Elizabeth was in the study working all day, so it's fine. Nathaniel was in the magisterium and didn't get back until dark. Can we blame him? At this, Nathaniel and Elizabeth exchange a meaningful look. Elizabeth has slept in Nathaniel's room before while she tended him from his injuries, but this time they did a little more than just sleep. They did some kissing. Can't be that though, can it?
Surely not.
Djibouti.
After her bath, Elizabeth dresses in her nightgown, picks up Demon Slayer, and heads down the hall to Nathaniel's bedroom. I love that, like, she's taking a bath. Like, I can just imagine she's in a giant bubble bath, and she's got bubbles on her hair, and she's, like, made herself a bubble beard, and Demon Slayer's just...
Oh, gosh, yes. she picks it up and
taking a bath with her.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I'm sorry. Nathaniel is sitting on the edge of the bed, thoughtfully looking outside. While Elizabeth is worried their sleeping together caused this, Nathaniel thinks not. They aren't doing anything they haven't done before. Well, just in case, Elizabeth firmly places a pillow between them.
Yes, because firmly placing a pillow is going to solve all their problems.
I mean, it depends on where you firmly place the pillow.
That could get quite uncomfortable. I say. Well,
Oh,
darling. Elizabeth wakes during the night and notices Nathaniel's face very close. So, obviously they start kissing. In a lucid moment, Elizabeth realises the pillow between them is gone and the wind outside rises dangerously. So they decide they need to check the attic, that roof. Nathaniel grabs his cane and Elizabeth grabs Demon Slayer.
Because of course she does.
She would look amazing in this long silk robe and dressing gown and Demon Slayer. That is a beautiful look.
Yes. Yes, with the robe wafting behind her as she walks through the halls.
Billows, her hair kind of billowing as well as the drafts get her.
Yes, and she's just got Demon Slayer in front, leading the way.
That is an amazing visual.
Silks wafting behind. Yes, it's beautiful. The attic is like a museum. Shrouded furniture, giant tarnished mirrors, a child's rocking horse, traveling chests, old-fashioned coats and dresses, a box of creepy-looking dolls, a suit of medieval armor on a stand, and an entire carriage. Just like your regular, everyday attic.
Do you not have an entire carriage in your attic and a box of creepy-looking dolls?
I mean, the box of creepy-looking dolls is not in the attic. It's on full display for everyone to see.
Oh, she's got the Renesmee doll. Damn it.
God, I wish. Nathaniel tells Elizabeth to look around, but warns that almost everything in the attic is cursed. It's cursed. The armor Elizabeth spots intrigues her the most. It looks about the right size for her. It's cursed! Nathaniel cries. Sigh. Continuing to look around, Elizabeth spots a goblin and draws Demon Slayer. Oh, that's not a goblin. It's only a portrait of Aunt Clothilde. Silas moved the portrait here, so Nathaniel suspects they have a history.
Trooping back downstairs, they pass a perturbed-looking Mercy before the smell of fresh baking attracts them all to the kitchen. Silas serves fresh scones, preserves, and peppermint tea. They all wish Silas would rest and gather his strength rather than keep working as a servant for the Thorn family, but Silas caught on quickly and thwarted their efforts. Elizabeth does ask Silas if he can help with the wards, and graciously Silas agrees and leaves to fetch something.
Silas returns with a grimoire, and it is not friendly.
Oh.
Elizabeth sees that the gilt lettering shows that it is volume 11, and she realizes it is a class 4 before it explodes in a frenzy. Silas tells her it has gone feral, living on the servants' floor, having escaped the muniment room, which was closed in 1792 after it went out of fashion to have one. Oh, darling, we don't have a muniment room anymore.
Who has a muniment room these days?
Who, indeed? The grimoire contains all the changes and wards attached to Thorn Manor, so it should prove helpful. Nathaniel asks where the muniment room is, and then he and Elizabeth go off to find it.
As Nathaniel and Elizabeth search near the bust of Erasmus Thorn for the door, Nathaniel explains what Silas meant by the muniment room being closed. When a sorcerer no longer has need of a room, they close it off and essentially banish it, as many of the rooms are created by sorcery. Rumour has it there is a ballroom somewhere. Elizabeth wants to go and look for the rooms and wonders if Thorn Manor is actually alive like the Royal Library. Suddenly, Elizabeth sees the door from the corner of her eye. Oh, thank goodness for her resistance to magic.
Inside the room looks like a cramped version of the Royal Library catalogue room, except this one has feral grimoires running wild and fighting. In the corner, it looks like one might have been eaten. Nathaniel casts a spell to freeze the grimoires so they can scour the room. There are so many books to look through, and Elizabeth is loving it. As they work, Elizabeth asks about Silas. He seems a little off with Mercy or put out at having someone assist him. Nathaniel ordered Silas not to kill Mercy, who overheard the order. Everyone is understandably a little on edge here. There was once a rumor of a footman who kept leaving finger marks on the silver, but his disappearance could have come from one of a million different reasons. It wasn't probably necessarily Silas. He probably didn't kill him for leaving fingerprints. He probably didn't. It's fine. Then Elizabeth asks if Silas has ever disobeyed an order. Only once, when Nathaniel was 12. Nathaniel was a petulant child and ordered Silas to leave him alone, but Silas found loopholes until he eventually broke the order to look after Nathaniel.
Oh.
And that's why we love Silas.
So nice. Suddenly, Nathaniel realises he should be able to control the grimoires with some minor blood magic, and it works! All but one are sorted and stored, and the remaining one, which is covered with mould and smells strongly of curdled milk, was written by Clotilde Thorn. Elizabeth takes the grimoire for treatment. Eventually, her careful ministrations work, and Elizabeth is able to see the title, Volume 26. However, no matter the coaxing, the grimoire stays stubbornly shut. It is clear that the creator, Aunt Clotilde, is a strong-willed person. Her tapestry they keep trying and failing to get rid of is certainly evidence of that.
Elizabeth suggests that her friend Catrian may be able to help. However, getting in touch with Catrian seems impossible. Nathaniel's patience snaps with the house when his and Elizabeth's faces get a little too close, and a clump of wet snow lands in the fireplace, covering them with smoke. That's it! Nathaniel fetches the magic mirror whose twin was used so violently against them in the first book. Its power has been severely weakened, but it should be enough to get in touch with Catrian.
Elizabeth exhales across the mirror to Catrian's room. Catrian is there with Parzival, who she orders to be quiet and not listen, and covers with a blanket. Poor Parzival. Catrian is well aware of the misfiring wards because the library director has been taking them on field trips to observe, but Elizabeth explains about the grimoire. Catrian suggests using a familiar object, and which was in close contact with Aunt Clotilde. They try the scrying mirror and Clotilde's portrait, but neither work. So Nathaniel asks Silas if Clotilde has a bedroom hidden in the house somewhere. Silas won't say. He is personally offended by Clotilde's wardrobe, describing it as a stain upon the house filled with the most unfashionable garments. When Silas leaves the room, Nathaniel and Elizabeth burst out laughing.
Over the next few days, Elizabeth wanders the hallways of Thorn Manor, staring at the walls until they give up their secret rooms. No matter the rooms she finds, Elizabeth likes to return to the one she calls the ostrich room. It's warm and welcoming. Silas finds her in the room, and it seems he is very familiar with it and cared for the room's creator.
The next morning at breakfast, Nathaniel throws his bacon before crying, "Of course, the tapestry!" Elizabeth finishes Nathaniel's breakfast and grabs Demon Slayer before following him to Aunt Clotilde's offensive tapestry. Nathaniel says it's obvious that her bedroom must be behind it. It isn't. Well, it's not for Nathaniel. Elizabeth has better luck with her magic resistance. The bedroom is really creepy in like a really frilly and lacy way, with magical pink candles, books on etiquette and deportment, and leaflets with outraged moral treatises about the role of women. Yuck. A hulking Baroque wardrobe occupies one wall, and Nathaniel opens it the old-fashioned way. The contents are unique and nightmarish. They're hideous. They are awful. Silas was right.
As they look at a particularly extravagant example of Clotilde's fashion choices, they are attacked by her dressing gown and chased from the room by a tide of clothes. Elizabeth uses Demon Slayer on the couture army, but it isn't enough. Mercy, wielding a mop, helps Elizabeth fight the garments, and they fall back to the foyer. Nathaniel then casts a spell, and a flock of birds from the green room's wallpaper descend on Clotilde's clothes. They need to lure out the dressing gown, as it must be the anchor for the others. Elizabeth knows just how to draw it out, and she reaches for Nathaniel and kisses him. It works, and Elizabeth is able to use Demon Slayer to destroy it.
Evil dressing gown. The army of unmentionables defeated. Elizabeth fetches Clothel's grimoire. It seems the house wants Nathaniel to declare his intentions, so now Nathaniel is locked in his study, the sounds and smell of magic emanating from it. Nathaniel is offended that his house does not think he is properly committed. It's like the house doesn't know him at all. It seems the manor will only be appeased by a show of formal courtship, which is an old sorcerer family tradition and that hasn't been practised in years. The only aid Elizabeth has been able to find looks to be one of Aunt Clothel's purchases, a lady's guide to sorceress traditions by Dame Prudence Winthrop. The grimoire opens to the relevant section, the Lover's Pact, and marks its place with a silk ribbon bookmark. The Lover's Pact requires a sorcerer to carry out 3 impossible tasks to win his lady's love. Elizabeth needs to set her first task.
That night, Elizabeth stays in her own bedroom but can't sleep thinking about the result of the impossible tasks. True love, marriage, a life together. Is this what she wants? Yeah, it is. It is 100%. Leaving her stifling room, Elizabeth runs into Silas in the hall. He's not dressed in his servant garb, but a suit and smells like winter. It comes as no surprise that Silas would be able to get past the wards. Elizabeth takes Silas's hand and asks about Nathaniel's mother. Silas then takes Elizabeth to the dining room and through a hidden door to the ballroom, which was closed 18 years ago. Silas then teaches Elizabeth to dance.
The next morning, Elizabeth is woken by Nathaniel delivering breakfast, his first impossible task. As Elizabeth tentatively tries the food, which actually looks pretty good, the house delivers a single red rose and of approval. Nathaniel requests his next task by lunch, so Elizabeth wanders the house for inspiration and finds more new rooms. She also finally finds Silas's room, which is neat and tidy. It's covered with detailed charcoal drawings of people and places from across the centuries, many showing Nathaniel doing everyday things. The picture on the easel, however, though, is of Elizabeth looking like an avenging saint, her expression one of hope, courage and resolve. This gives Elizabeth an idea.
The second impossible task given after lunch, Elizabeth is told to stay in Nathaniel's study, so she works on one of the worn grimoires, Ostamir's Complete Fairy Tales. It flutters open to The Orphan Prince. The grimoire is trying to tell her something. Elizabeth only sees Nathaniel at dinner for a moment as he quickly eats and disappears again, but the smell of magic and peculiar sounds coming from the attic let her know he's still alive. Don't worry.
The next morning, Nathaniel delivers the next impossible task, the suit of armour from the attic, decursed and adjusted to fit Elizabeth perfectly. From downstairs, Mercy calls that the front door is opening again, so the house must approve of the second task. Elizabeth cannot wait to try on the armour and practice, and uses it to face the wandering topiaries outside. She absolutely loves it, and clanks around in it all day.
I would just love to see her, again, wafting through the halls, holding Demon Slayer, except for now she's got the suit of armor on with her silk robe on top of it.
And she's just got this delighted, like, little girl, happy with life expression. Yes. There's nothing avenging angel or, you know, warrior-esque. She's just happy. Nope. It's a Christmas morning kind of smile. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. That night, a terrible dream disturbs Elizabeth, but it's Nathaniel's screams that wake her up. Grabbing Demon Slayer and salt rounds, Elizabeth makes her way down the hall, wary of the illusion of the hallway created by Nathaniel's mind. Elizabeth runs into Mercy, who's frozen by an illusion of a woman. Elizabeth throws a salt round at the illusion and asks Mercy to make tea, since the nightmares seem to stay out of the kitchen. In Nathaniel's bedroom, Elizabeth finds him crouched on the bed frame, looking petrified, Silas trying to comfort him. In the corner is a thing. A child with the face of Maximilian, Nathaniel's brother, covered in grave dirt. Elizabeth reaches for a salt round before going to Nathaniel and holding him. Nathaniel begs for the third task, so she asks for him to take her ice skating.
Outside, the scene has changed into the formal gardens not seen since Nathaniel's mother was alive. It seems the house wants them to go outside. Nathaniel and Elizabeth head downstairs while Silas fetches their warm coats. Together, Elizabeth and Nathaniel head out into the snow and toward the maze. They find a single white rose in Nathaniel's mother's favourite place in the garden, and he tells them how she and Maximilian died. A pier collapsed into the water because it was overcrowded. No one would tell him what happened until his father returned from Manchester business, but even then he was too grief-stricken to speak to his son. In the end, Silas was the one who explained everything. Leaving the rose, they continue on into the maze to the frozen pond at its centre.
Using magic, Nathaniel creates silver skates over their shoes. He must have had this planned for weeks because you don't have a whimsical spell like that just ready on the fly. Together, they step onto the pond and skate. When they come to a stop, Nathaniel apologizes for not expressing his love in the accepted, traditionally verbal fashion, but Elizabeth tells him that he may not say it, but he shows it. She knows he loves her. Damning the house, they kiss passionately, but luckily the lovers' pact has been fulfilled and the old magic dissipates. As they celebrate, a sobering thought occurs to Elizabeth. What day is it? They've suffered the whims of the prudish spell on the house for 10 days, which means that the midwinter ball is tomorrow.
Ooh. Silas has obviously been busy preparing while they were outside. He helps Elizabeth dress and do her hair, then presses a dressmaker's card for Lady Tremaines into her hand, along with a list of instructions for the seamstress. He whisks her through the servants' corridor to the hidden carriage, and collecting Katrine on the way, together they head to the magical dressmaker. After a whirlwind time at Lady Tremaines, Elizabeth returns to Thorn Manor, finding Nathaniel using Ostermere's complete fairy tales to create magical scenes around the ballroom. So pretty.
Silas comes to inform Nathaniel the guests are already arriving and refuses to strangle Nathaniel with his own cravat. He also informs Elizabeth that it wouldn't be the thing for a demon to attend the ball, especially as he can't hide amongst the servants. And speaking of, Silas hands Mercy packages and a dress from the pile Elizabeth brought home, telling her to enjoy herself and take the night off.
Eventually,
Aww.
they have to open the doors, and the line to Thorn Manor of guests waiting outside is huge. Once the introductions are done, Elizabeth is able to escape to get ready with Silas's help. Katrine looks freaking amazing in the dress Silas arranged for her, and together they coax Mercy out into hers. Elizabeth struggles to find Nathaniel until a drunk guest loudly addresses him. Together they dance for an hour, and once they part for refreshment, Elizabeth finds him again being accosted by a devilishly handsome man, pining for the kiss they shared in Lord Ingram's linen closet. Nathaniel, looking really awkward, tells him he can't rekindle anything. He's engaged. And Nathaniel magics an engagement ring on Elizabeth's hand.
How great is their relationship that she's like, oh, we're engaged now. Okay, oh, boop, there's a ring. Okay, yeah, fine, just go with it. It's fine. Just go with it.
In a partnership, you cover each other's backs. So even if it wasn't a formal engagement, you for the night, you go with it.
It's good enough. Yeah. As the ball goes on, Silas heads into the cellar. It's a dark and gloomy place, humming with the magic from the wards. The week before last, Silas found it easy enough to wake Clothilde's magic and is very pleased with the results. Nathaniel clearly needed an intervention, otherwise he wouldn't have done anything for years. And Silas is impatient to plan the wedding. He's already picked out the flowers. Silas heads to the farthest cell, which holds a pentagram, which has summoned him many times. Using his blood, Silas summons the Great Devourer and gives it Clothilde's dressing gown. Oh.
I love that. I love that.
There's probably some ectoplasmic residue in the air.
I do enjoy that Great Devourer gives him sassy. He's like, eat the dressing gown. Just eat it.
Oh, no, I don't want to eat that. Gross. Okay. Well, we're going to pause here for a moment, listen to this promo from another podcast, and we're going to drag Superfan Brie on to join us for the rest of the show.
I think we're going to perform some magic right now. Like, everything's just going to change up weirdly.
Hi there, I'm Volley, one of the hosts of the Reading Queens podcast. If you love books, fandom discussions, and having a good time, join your new internet friends as we take on such topics and more. Hosted by a group of published authors, Reading Queens is a podcast for every book lover. Every week, we get together to blab about our favorite books, why we love them, and the book boyfriends we wish were real. You can find the episodes on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and other platforms, with a new episode launching every Wednesday. Thanks. Now back to the show.
Look, now we're back from our break, and
Yes.
just as I said, we're wearing different clothes.
Magic.
It's a different day.
It is. It's a
Wait,
different
I don't think
time.
I said that.
I might have.
And also, Superfan Brie has joined us. Yay! Yay!
Hi,
Welcome,
Brie.
Brie.
Hi, Claire. Hi, Amanda.
Hi. It's been a while since you've been on.
It's Midge.
Unacceptable. It's our fault.
How long has it been? Was it
Like
like Christmas time last year when we did this one, or was it even longer ago than
I
that?
have a feeling it was the year before.
Do you?
Yeah, I looked
Maybe.
so.
I don't
It
remember.
was
Claire looked it
episode
up, follow her.
167.
167. Christ,
And we're up
that's
to
almost 100
255.
episodes ago. Sorry, Brie. Hi. Welcome
And
back.
there's
Just
only
one more,
52
so I'm making up
weeks
for
in
lost
the
time.
year. Okay. I mean, you've been busy. You know,
Yes.
you've been getting an education and got a degree, so official
Yeah.
congratulations.
Yay.
Yay!
Thank you.
And now you have more time
Evil
to spend with
mermaids
us.
and Japanese fairy tales, and they all sold out, and I'm very proud of myself.
Yeah,
We are
where's-
proud of you. It's
Where is
amazing.
my copy? Or is it upstairs still? I have one. I bought it. I'm one of the reasons why it's sold out.
My director, Kevin J. Anderson, was very happy. I showed it to him.
I keep looking
Well,
for it. but
Amanda
I
with the
think
picture of the book.
I think it's still upstairs. I think I haven't brought it down to put it
Oh,
on
it's
the
too
bookshelf
far
yet.
if it's upstairs.
It's
far
so
too
far away. It's so,
far
away.
away.
It's too late. The die is
It
cast.
is. It is. But I have it. And it's pretty. Have I read
It
it
is very
yet?
pretty.
No. When
The
will
insides
I?
are pretty,
Who
too.
knows? I'm sure.
Oh, it's an anthology. You can pick it up and drop
As
it
I
whenever.
have saying
why
a
we
lot
love 'em.
lately.
That's why
I'm
we
saying
love
this a
'em.
lot lately. There's a difference between being a reader and being a collector. They are not a mutually exclusive hobby. You know, you can collect books, you can read books, you might do both. I'm not judging either way because I'm just as bad.
Anyway, we should probably discuss this book that we're supposed to be talking about. Right?
Yeah? I mean, we could.
I'm ready.
I don't think anybody else is particularly interested if we just sat and gossiped for an hour. They might.
Both is good.
Both. We'll do a book.
Just do all of the things.
In theory, we are a book podcast, so...
In theory, yes.
In theory.
Bring on the
in
fluffy
theory.
fantasy.
Woo! Okay, so what are our standout moments for Mysteries of Thorn Manor? As I remind myself what book we're talking about.
By Margaret Rogerson.
Book 1.5 in the Sorcery of Thorn series.
Is it a series, though? I thought she was just like, you know what? That was super cute. And
I didn't know.
now here's a little bit
Basically.
more. I'm pretty sure that that's what the background info was about, I think.
Yeah, but you cannot tell me that after reading Mysteries of Thorn Manor, if you can at all remember it now, because we don't even know what day of the week it is.
Right, I don't know.
There is setup for more.
Yes,
Set
and
up, but at the same time, do we want more?
I don't know.
I kind of like that there maybe isn't more. Like, let's just let's just let her write something else. That's what
like
the background
Vespertine.
info was about. Yes, let's let her write more about haunted underpants or some such. That's what the background info was about.
Yes. I agree. I'm happy having just Sorcery of Thorns and Mysteries of Thorn Manor. However, if she wanted to make this into a duology and have a bit more of a story, or do another novella where it's the wedding,
That
and
would be
all of the
precious.
craziness that happens at the wedding, I'd be more than happy with that. But
I
I
would
would
be
want it
okay
from Silas's
wedding.
perspective. I want
Yes.
Silas's point of view at the wedding. I want the wedding planning all the way up, and how he has to corral Nathaniel, even though Nathaniel has no worries or qualms about marrying Elizabeth. Actually, you know what? He's probably got to corral Elizabeth, because Elizabeth would be like, "Oh my god, am I too young to get married?" And he'd be like, "Yeah, you're fine."
She'd probably ruin the dress
With a
10,000 different
sword.
ways because
Yeah.
yes, exactly, because for some reason grimoires would fly in and attack and or would be defending or ink everywhere.
Yeah,
and
I can see that happening.
Then but I could also see him having to get corral Nathaniel too, because what we saw at the ball was Nathaniel trying to get out of all of the and he has to do it as a cat because no one can see him because it's just not done.
So there's just a little cat, like, head bumping people, like, okay, you get up to the altar now, and then Nathaniel's distracted with jam, and something else is happening. There's a haunted pair of underpants that show up. Somehow they've been
Catriona has got to be
regurgitated.
involved.
Yes, Katrine is
She-
there.
Yeah,
Parsifal is there
she-
with a blanket on his head.
Yes. It's just basically a book of tomfoolery, magic and tomfoolery. That's what I need.
Sounds
Yeah.
perfect.
But also, like, the sentimental stuff that made it in there. I loved all of the Silas Elizabeth moments, and all of the Silas and Nathaniel moments, and all of the Silas moments.
You see, this is why it makes me
general.
think that there's more to the series, that she's going to create more because of the Silas moments. And she bought the opera tickets, and she never gave them to Silas yet.
Well, that's implied. He knows she's gonna.
She's
Yeah.
trying to keep it secret, that fact that she had them stuffed down a corset or something. So she thinks he doesn't know. I mean, obviously Silas knows all. He is pretty much omnipotent. But we never actually have that exchange. And there's just those little nuggets, those little things that make me think she's got something else. Margaret Rogerson's got something else up her sleeve.
But I love that it's open. It's so open, so we can sit and have this conversation. We can
Yes.
plan out the wedding ourselves. We can do all of
Yeah.
this stuff. That's why I love an open-ended book. We can
It
make
reminds-
the ending that we want.
It reminds me perfectly of the Tangled series. And I say series because you have the Tangled movie from Disney, and then you have the epic 3-season animated series, which everyone should watch it because it's better than the movie. But you don't have to if you're not into it. And then you have the little epilogue, which is the wedding and shenanigans and stuff. This felt like that, where there's more adventures that they're gonna have and stuff, but it has all the fan fiction fodder that people can just run wild with because it's such a rich, deep world, like the sea of blackberry jam that Nathaniel exploded all over. Or preserves, whichever.
There's part of me that would quite like this next one, or a tie-in book that's actually set about 50 years in the future, and it's Nathaniel and Elizabeth's child, if they have a child. Silas is still there. Silas is still as he is. And that child has absolutely no belief that their mother and father got up to any shenanigans in any way, shape or form. But it's kind of like them taking over, or, you know, are they going to go down the route of following the mother and be a warrior, or are they going to be a magister with magic? You know, I'd kind of like to see if we could move on a generation and see how Silas again interacts with them and has those memories of Nathaniel and Elizabeth, because Elizabeth promises that they're never going to let Silas be alone, and the only way I think they can do that, because it has to be you have to inherit them, is if they have either a child or a ward.
Yeah, that would be cool. And I do love Silas being kind of part guardian figure, but also part like I got vibes between him and Elizabeth, not a, you know, I mean, I don't think it's necessarily poly vibes, but it's definitely, there's a complex bond there, which I really appreciated that deepening, and kind of like how it was hinted with him and Nathaniel's mom. I'd really love to see that again and again and again, and just see how that evolves over time. Like, I would just love a Silas commentary book.
Yeah,
honestly.
I think that's what it's boiling down to, isn't it?
That would be
Everything
the
we're saying
best.
is it's from Silas's point of view. And it was nice to have so much Silas' point of view in this book as well, still. Considering it's a novella, they could have quite easily left out his voice, but we very much have it there. And it's just so satisfying.
The epilogue made me happy.
Which part? Because it was just the entire thing.
Yes, the entire thing, the planning, the devourer being, oh, it's you. Why are you summoning me? I need to dispose of something, and then the threats, and it's just like, if they live through it, it was awesome.
Yeah.
Eat this dressing gown.
Then he returns to the light and the life. So wholesome and fluffy.
So good.
The things he's done in that dungeon, though. He's like, oh, I had, was it Mr. Hobbs or something he had in there for a while? And
was it, no, Higgins was under the petunias, I think that was the implication.
Yeah, I can't remember precisely, but yeah, I was like, okay.
Her fingerprints on the silverware, not any of these other nefarious,
Not
horrible
allowed.
things, just fingerprints on the silverware.
Do not leave fingerprints. What are you thinking?
The greatest of all.
It's a travesty, really.
Shocking.
Not in his house.
Can't
No.
get good help these days.
No. So what other standout moments do we have?
Besides all the Silas?
Yeah.
I can't believe we haven't mentioned the army of underthings.
I loved that
That-
so much.
It was one of my favorite parts, and I had to like look up half the under things because I'm not as familiar as I should be with like turn of whatever century, 1800s, I guess, under things fashion, which makes me ashamed because I love the parasol verse, so I should be at least a little versed in them.
Excuse me, Brie, but we do not talk about our underthings. They are unmentionables for a reason.
My pearls! Oh, indeed!
Gasp!
The prude house.
The house was a complete prude.
It was fantastic.
I didn't clock straight away that it was Clothild. I was like, it's the house. The house is alive. The house is a prude. And then when it was, you know, the aunt stuff, it was like, yeah, that makes a lot more sense. And I was actually quite annoyed by Aunt Clothild because she seemed quite progressive. You know, she was a sorceress. She was a very strong sorceress, very strong-willed. But it was all deportment and the ladies' places in the house. I was like, oh no, oh, that grated me. You know, my feminism stirred up at that point.
Yeah, I
but
did like.
how old is she though? When was she sorceress? Like, how long ago was that? What is she?
17 something?
Yeah.
Well, exactly. It's generational and it's historical and it's cultural, and I get that. But suffragettes all the way.
I mean, Elizabeth was the same way as soon as she read the books. Not when she saw the wardrobe, the crime against fashion, but when she saw the Manor books.
The bedroom, Uncle Phil's bedroom, just
Oh, it's so pink.
so
It was so pink.
so.
I want to know what animal the dressing gown was made out of. And if the animal eventually got revenge somehow.
It
We
came
can
back as a
only
spirit.
hope.
I
It's one of
also
the
loved
cursed things.
the subtle role that Catrian played. Being the moral support at the dress shop, helping with the breakthrough with the books, and when she got the package at the end with her dress, she was like, "Random packages? I would have booby-trapped it, so Silas needs to be careful next time."
I love Catrian. I think she's an unsung hero.
Yeah.
Like when I re-listened to Sorcery of Thorns, I forgot how valuable her input is in trying to figure things out. Her simple, well, get a job at the library then. Just she's so straight. She is logical. She gets from A to B in a straight line. None of this fanning about, and it's correct. She's on the ball. She's on point, and it's just like she's not given enough credit.
But then she puts a blanket on Parsifal's head.
He wasn't supposed to listen.
Right? Like, what? That's not helpful. He can hear through that blanket,
No, you're not supposed to. It's the same as if you've got your eyes closed. And you see, if I can't see you, you can't see me.
Sure.
Accurate. Or you close your ears.
I feel like it's the principle of the matter.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to be involved in this. Here's this blanket. You just sit over there quietly.
It's plausible deniability. I feel like Parsifal is a delicate flower who needs to be protected, especially when Catrian and Elizabeth get together. Hijinks will ensue.
Yes.
Violence will no doubt be wrought.
Yes.
And Parsifal needs to have that degree of separation for his own mental health and well-being, but also plausible deniability.
It was also Catrian respecting Elizabeth and, well, Nathaniel doesn't care, but Elizabeth's sensibilities, because they were talking about her relationship with Nathaniel, and while Catrian doesn't care because it's all, part A, part B, logical and whatnot, maybe Parsifal isn't the same.
Maybe. That sounds reasonable. I just enjoy the fact that he's just sitting back there in the room with a blanket on his head.
He must be getting so hot in that blanket.
It is the middle of winter.
So he's probably fine. He's probably cozy.
Stick your head under a blanket for 10 minutes, even in winter when it's cozy, and it gets a bit hot and you're like, oh, I need to stick my head back out to breathe.
He's not allowed to breathe.
It's when
right
you
now.
stick your foot out and you call it a blanket fort.
Yes. Yeah. I like that.
Blanket forts. I haven't made a blanket fort or pillow fort in such a long time.
Oh, we should do it. We should all just do it right now. Blanket
Fictional
fort.
Hangover blanket fort.
Yes.
We could have 2 forts and then we could have a mini war.
Yeah.
With
I think that sounds
blackberry
like a really good
preserves.
idea. With blackberry preserves, yes.
preserves.
And underpants.
Yes. Magical underpants.
Magical underpants, yeah. I love all of this. So, what else? Do we have any other standout moments, or should we move on to favorite character, perhaps? Even though I think I can tell Bree's.
Oh, yeah.
Just
I'm
from her-
broadcasting it loud and clear.
Yes, just from a list that we received earlier, where we were counting things off on our fingers. And Silas did this, and Silas did this, and Silas this, and Silas this. Like, oh, that's not your favorite character, Brie? I'm
Silas,
shocked.
all the Silas.
I'm so shocked.
He's a dimensional kitty. Therefore, he is best.
He is really fantastic. But I love Nathaniel in this one. He's so funny. I love Nathaniel.
He is wonderful. The snark.
Yes.
And he does an impromptu engagement just to get out of telling a clingy ex-fling.
Yeah, like, oh,
he's
sorry.
not available anymore.
Sorry, I can't go and make out with you because I'm engaged.
Hey, he said he was committed, but he didn't believe him.
It's true.
I also think I got the subtle, like, that Felix was about to do some kind of, like, rage sorcery magic or something. Like, there was a rumble or something. So, we've got clingy X-Fling plus destructive X-Fling.
Yeah, that would not have been good in the middle of the ball.
I think he would have just magicked him to a closet and just try and make out with him. Which is, not good.
Also not good.
You know what he probably would have done? Blanket fort.
Of course.
Just get in the blanket fort and do some smooching.
Blanket forts are so versatile.
They really are. You can use them for everything. I love that. I love that Nathaniel clearly, he's going on this quest and he has to do all of these things. I really love that he clearly had the ice skating thing pre-planned. I thought that was lovely.
I had forgotten that is actually mentioned in Sorcery of Thorns as well.
Yes, he's been planning it for forever.
Yeah.
Oh.
She mentioned she wants to go ice skating, and it wasn't until I re-listened to it. I was like, oh, yes, it's lovely. I do appreciate that. I can't pick a favourite character in this one because, to be fair, there are so few, and every single one of them shines in some way, shape or form. Like, you've already covered Silas, you've already covered Nathaniel, we've talked about Catriona, but also let's give Elizabeth her due. The moment she puts on that suit of armour and she's just clanking around the place, as happy as Larry, destroying the tomfoolery outside to the point that they start running away from her. She even pees in it. She works out how she can go to relieve herself and would sleep in that armour. She loves it that much.
Didn't we discuss in the summary that she's wafting through the halls wearing her silk dressing gown on top of her armour, and she's got her sword and she's wafting? Yeah.
I love that. I thought she didn't give up. And how can you not love a librarian who looks after the books, the grimoires, like her?
Really?
Come on.
That's the dream.
I loved the implication that she also wanted to bridge the two specialties, the wardens and the Catriona, one of them. Yeah, the
conservationists.
Yes, conservationists, where she wanted, to protect both the books and the human bystanders and not, put one over the other and actually keep these living personalitied objects comfortable too, because if they're going to be cooped up forever, then they need to be happy. It's like they're animals, a bunch of, little doggy books that need to be taken care of.
That's it. I mean, she is, isn't it described in the first one that she essentially, because she was a baby when she was brought into the library, she is a grimoire of a sort. She absorbed the ink, she absorbed the magic of the library. That's how she has the affinity and potentially has the magic resistance as well, so she can see the
she does have the magic resistance.
Thorn Manor. So she wants to protect both halves of herself. She wants to protect the books and she wants to protect the people, and I respect the heck out of that. The question, I would say the question is, once she's married to Nathaniel Thorn and she's a Magister's wife, I don't think she will, and I don't think Nathaniel will let her lose her identity.
No
as
way.
is the cultural norm that once you're married, you are your husband's wife. The end. I think Nathaniel's the opposite. He's going to be like, no, she manages everything. She's the boss. She does what she wants to do.
She wears the suit of armor in the family.
Yeah.
And he was ready to break convention by like the tirade he went on, like, Silas, you saved the world. People wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. You shouldn't have to hide out and, not show yourself just because, they eat your food, they talk about you behind your back. And I loved that, that fury on behalf of his friend, guardian, mentor, family. It was very sweet. So both of them will definitely be breaking some social norms and establishing some newer, better ones.
Yeah, it reminds me of what Amanda always says about, the teenagers of now are going to change the world.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, Elizabeth was 17 and Nathaniel was 18 in Sorcery of Thorn, so we can assume they're no more than, 18, 19 now.
Mm-hmm.
They're not much older, because it takes place so soon after the main book.
Only a few months, I think.
Exactly. That, they are young enough and have the energy. It was 84 years ago I had energy. They've got the energy and the stamina and the drive and the motivation to change the world, and they know how to make it better. And again, that's kind of why I would like something that might be a later generation 2 down the line, with Silas, obviously, when we find out how Nathaniel and Elizabeth affected the changes.
Is it present day?
That would be interesting. I don't know if I would like it quite so much, but I think it would certainly be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I would not mind a more modern era, like maybe the 20s or 30s, or something where they are older, maybe dead, but odds are there's the potential they could have been alive in the recent past, I think.
I think what we need to remember
no, never mind. They're in the 1800s now, so the 1920s might be a little...
This is a magical world. If it was set now, it's not going to be our now. I can't imagine them having the combustion engine. Because it's a magical world, they do not necessarily need it. So even if it was set in 2023, it might not be the 2023 that we know.
Sure. It's not
because
current. It's not our present day. It's their present day.
Exactly.
So the Avatar series does this, and is going to do this with the third Avatar they make, where they kind of started off with they were just discovering the potential of the steam engine and stuff with the first Avatar, The Last Airbender, and then Avatar Legend of Korra. They get more into 20s, 30s, borderline 50s with like the car technology, because a lot of different magic bending styles have been discovered and utilized over that period of like a few decades. And the next one, the third one, is supposed to be in a modern present day context, and people having the magic martial arts powers. I imagine it would be a similar effect with this world too.
Yeah, because if there's no, I can't remember what series I read, but it was set technically modern day, but because of the magic in the world, or the lack of magic in the world, or whatever, I can't remember. I think it was because of the magic in the world, and there was some kind of like magical war or whatever. There was no need for technology to advance in the way that it has as we understand it, so it went on a almost like a Marvel kind of diverged different universe,
alternate history.
Yeah, exactly. There was no need for that to happen, so it can be set in 2023, but there may be such things as personal conveyances, like a carriage, but it doesn't have a horse, but it's magical. And think about the way that Nathaniel and Elizabeth are likely to want to share knowledge. And at the moment, magic is the aristocracy. It's the people who are moneyed and titled who have the magic. There's nothing saying that it doesn't go into the masses. And
oh no, I can totally see them giving their magic, like giving that power to everyone.
Exactly.
They're going to have a magical working class who have their own like minor levels of demons and summoners, and then you have like different social tiers of. It would be fun.
It would change the course of history in terms of, like, imagine the Civil War would be fought with demons. You know, it would be completely different, and nothing like what we're just like the world of Mysteries of Thorn Manor as we know
So
it.
it's just everything that has happened in our world, but with magic and demons.
And librarians.
But then who says it could? Because, you know, 200 years ago, you know, we didn't have grimoires that can turn into monsters attacking the world. It is a different world. It's just, This is what I always find a little confusing sometimes when you've got a book that relies on real world conventions like time, using the years, because then it says the year like 1782. Well, we can contextualize what 1782 is for us, but actually it's very different in this universe. And it's both a good and a bad thing for me, because like I kind of place history in that and go, actually that doesn't make any sense because we've got magic and we've got werewolves and we've got monsters
Use your
everywhere.
imagination, Claire.
Well, exactly. Well, no, that's exactly it.
I think the time period is also tends in these things to be more for aesthetic reasons too, because when you have stuff set in a magical 1920s or 30s or whatever, you have jazz, you have fashions that are familiar to us, but the technology and stuff isn't necessarily like, it's maybe similar, but the mechanics are vastly different because there's magic or there's new tech, or, you know, which is why I love Miss Gale's stuff so much, because she does that, like, she uses so much of the aesthetic, but she like also uses the soundly researched other stuff, and like how Sorcery of Thorns and Mysteries of Thorn Manor did that too.
Imagine a world where, like, you are mentioning these times and you are doing these things, but the author has created everything new from scratch and everything is different. How bonkers would that book be? And would you even like it? Like, you're reading this and you have no idea what's going on. And Claire, you were saying like, oh no, this is 1782 and that doesn't make any sense. I can't wrap my brain around having something so vastly different with like nothing that you've ever heard of, which how would you even write that? How would you even make that happen? And then how would you even understand it? It makes my brain break.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like any work of fiction. If you don't put in the real world pieces, like saying what the year is.
Yeah, you can't relate to it.
You can't, but you can still suspend your belief in you disbelieve that it's not a real society. It happens all the time. I mean, Lord of the Rings, for example, it's an extreme measure, but it's a completely different world, completely different languages, completely different time scaling. You're given years and you're given all of these context clues and this history and this culture, but it's understandable. But what my kind of issue is when you say 1782, I understand my 1782, not the world's 1782. So when they're saying that Aunt Clothild in 1782 did X, Y, and Z, I kind of context, you know, in my world and thinking, oh, well, but it's not happening in my world. It's not happening in the UK. It's not happening in America. Nothing of that nature is going on. But then I kind of think, well, what happened 1,782 years ago from the call it year zero? Because I overthink things. That's my
you're not
issue.
the only one. Like, the fact that it makes time, like it references time similar to our solar calendar or our, you know, I'm trying to remember BCE and CE, like before Common Era and Common Era, like, because it uses that calendar and stuff, and it uses that aesthetic similarly because it does have a lot of 1800s aesthetics, like, you know, this thing came before the magical lamp, and it's a manor, or society is kind of similarly set up. So, I mean, it's definitely used with intention, but doing it all new, all from scratch, you definitely have to put in the base work, do new time, like can't have anything that's as remotely similar, and that is so much work.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, it's not, I'm not saying it's lazy of Margaret Rogerson in this at all. I'm not. I love this book.
No, I don't think
5 out of
anyone
5.
ever even thought that you were calling her lazy.
It's what is lazy, and it's not this book, is when you read a book where it has the real world nuggets in there, and usually it's cursing, and or like pointers to like if they said, oh, like Jesus Christ or holy shit. That's very much our world, and it knocks me out of the fantasy of what I'm reading.
No, see, I would much prefer that. Like in the Maze Runner, when they have all of their made up curse words, I hated that. It was so grating, and those words were just so... I hated it. We actually had a Would You Rather based on this, too, with the Beth Revis books. Do you remember? Would you rather shout Frex or shite or whatever it was? Do you remember that?
Yep.
Yes, because we used the little bird.
Yeah, we did. We had the bird. We had bird with us then.
Yes.
But yeah, I don't love that. I don't.
See, I don't mind.
I
frack,
only love it
because
if it's.
frack is
I only like it if it's completely different. Like, don't say frack instead of fuck. Don't say whatever. Come up with a new expletive.
I quite like frack, but that's because frack's used in a lot of different sci-fi shows.
Well, Firefly, that series, I liked how they did it well because they got by the censors by using cuss words from another language.
Yeah,
however, they also used that language throughout the aesthetics of the show as well. So it felt natural to the world that was created. So I liked that balance, but I agree, like, unless you're going to do something where it's like if you're doing the medieval cursing idea where it's like religious curse words, and you're using the deities like so-and-so's thumb or so-and-so's genitals or that kind of thing. That cursing is fun
Odin's
and it feels
raven.
grounded.
Yes.
Exactly.
I like that one.
Now I'm trying to remember the words that I hated from the Maze Runner.
I wonder if I Googled Maze Runner swearing.
Well, I'm just looking. I'm going back into the before times in our Google Drive.
Clunk. Shook.
Ugh.
The only swearing is the occasional C ** P, and once or twice, I'm guessing, damn, D * MN.
Yeah. Ugh, I hated that.
Shook is annoying.
Shuck was terrible.
When it comes off as juvenile, then it feels a lot more...
And that, I feel like, does make it very juvenile. It's like, oh, we can't say any bad words, so we're going to say, heck instead. I don't like that.
Even I'm teaching my 8-year-old swear words, for goodness sake. He contextually uses the word shit. It's great. I mean, he's not allowed to use it very often. And only in the house.
I mean, the part of, like, ethically teaching swearing, in my opinion, and, this is as a religious person as well, is like, there's a time and a place. Like, you teach these words, and then you teach this is how you use these words, and these are the ethics around using these words, and, you respect other people and their stuff, but, words are words. So,
exactly.
Like any word, it's how you use it that gives it its meaning and significance.
I feel like we need to quote Annie at this point.
Sometimes the only appropriate word is fuck?
Yes.
I was going to say that, like, back 188 years ago when I was a teen librarian, and the teens around me in the library would say cuss words, and then they'd be like, oh, she heard me say it. I don't care how I don't care what you say, as long as you don't say it to hurt someone else. It's fine with me.
Exactly. Like, especially if a lot of times, especially younger kids, when they're testing their boundaries, at least this is what I've noticed as a childless person, they like to use it to see the reaction that they get to it.
Yeah.
And, you know, more than just cussing, they'll say derogatory things or whatever, and it's how they're feeling around what they can use and what they can't use, and, you know, their own ethics and stuff.
See, my logic is, if I'm the one teaching, then I know that they're being taught the right word in the right context, and like you say, the ethics behind it, the morals behind it, the true meaning behind it, rather than waiting until they get to the schoolyard, hear these words and inappropriately, and then they'll know, oh, I've heard this word and my mummy says that's a bad word, I am not going to repeat that word. It's fine. It's an educational piece, because you know, if you do get wrong if you swear at school.
What does this have to do with this book?
I have absolutely no idea.
I think we should get back on track a little bit, maybe.
Surprises.
Do we have surprises? Should we talk about surprises? I already kind of talked about mine a little bit with the fact that Nathaniel planned the ice skating. But I was surprised that Silas thought Nathaniel would lollygag with the wedding. Because clearly he's very sentimental. He remembers that she wants to go ice skating. He remembers that she fucking wants to go ice skating. So he plans that. I can't see him lollygagging.
I don't think Nathaniel is the one who would lollygag about the wedding. I think it would be Elizabeth.
Yeah, because she's too busy wafting in her armor.
Well, exactly. Unless her spending the night every night and she's a no sex before marriage girl.
They would already be married immediately.
She will throw him down the aisle, because you know, as soon as she starts feeling it, she's going to want to jump it.
Yeah.
I feel like they haven't done it in the point of the book, but I don't think they're necessarily going to wait, just because of how, like, they've already gotten very touchy-feely with each other.
It's all over the clothes stuff at this point. There's
but they were,
exactly.
Yeah. They were putting a pillow between them on the bed.
No, she put the pillow between them at once because the house is approved.
Because of the house, but still.
It was only because of the house, though. I don't think it's something that it's a big priority for her, because she basically grew up in a convent. But now, because of that, and because she has that emotional connection, and she's discovered about herself that she gets stimulated, as they put it, by an emotional connection or armor, that they're going to probably take it, you know, up that notch once they've declared their love for each other. They're engaged. There's literally nothing holding them back from an emotional standpoint.
Maybe that's why Silas went down into, you know, the depths of the manor house and visited with the underpants eating demon, the devourer, for a little while. He's like, they're busy and I don't want to be around this right now, so will you eat these underpants? And he's like, yeah, okay.
The party was going on because you hear the engagement being announced.
And everyone's, yay!
Except,
I don't think Silas...
Except the fling, who's like, no, and then I can't kiss Nathaniel ever again.
I honestly think that Silas wouldn't care. I don't think he's into it personally.
I don't think he is either, but I think he would give them their space, is really what I meant by that.
He'll turn into a cat and go out hunting for the night, you know? Go for a snooze in front of the fireplace. He's
Make some post whatever scones and tea.
Yes, make some scones, peppermint tea, and some blackberry
celebratory scones.
Well
Here
done.
you go,
You've
friends.
lost your virginity.
Yes.
He is a croissant.
Prank Mercy a bit. Maybe, you know,
Probably.
give her the night off or something.
How tense must Mercy be in that house? You know, I can only imagine that she's like stressed to bits until near the end. Poor thing.
Even then, I'd like to see what she would want to do with the rest of her life, because there were kind of vibes that she didn't necessarily want to be a servant forever. And now that she's got, you know, she's more distanced and recovered from the horrible stuff she went through, that she would be able to, like, start to evaluate, so what do I want to do and what do I want to be, even though she is good at her job.
I wouldn't be
who's
surprised
willing
if she trains as Elizabeth's assistant.
Ooh, that would be fun.
I would like that. Did anybody else have any surprises?
No, go for it. Go for it.
I was surprised about the house being a TARDIS. Like the pocket dimensions and stuff. I was also genuinely surprised that Silas and Elizabeth had, like, you know, that level of complexity that was explored here. Like, yes, they were starting to delve into it with Sorcery of Thorns, but I liked, you know, pleasantly surprised that there was more of a depth, and it wasn't just, oh, Nathaniel. It was like building that family unit, and that's why I love this author so much. Like, she has similar stuff in the one other book I've read of hers, and she's only got like 4. So that's a significant portion of her books.
Makes you think, if Silas saw something in Elizabeth at an early stage, to think, actually, she would be perfect for Nathaniel. Let's see if we can, you know, eventually make them smooch.
I mean, he's playing a long game.
Oh, he's playing the long game. Oh, if anybody is playing the long game, it's Silas.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw his picture. Like, he's a fanboy of hers, I'm convinced, because, you know, Nathaniel was all brooding and sad and stuff, but she was an avenging saint. Like, he sees her as like this ideal, and it's just like, you need to be around this place. And like, he secretly also really likes that she believes in him so much, I think.
I wonder who Elizabeth reminds Silas of, which one of the Thorn ancestors.
Probably Nathaniel's mom, honestly. That's the hints I was picking up.
Yeah.
I was thinking it was an earlier generation. I thought it might have been somebody earlier than that.
Or someone he read about in a book.
Yeah. One of the grimoires before I went feral.
Mm-hmm.
My surprise, which didn't actually happen until after I re-listened to Sorcery of Thorns, but it did jar me the first time I listened to Mysteries of Thorn Manor, was how the narrator, Emily Ellett, did Parsifal's voice. It was
I
silly.
don't even remember it.
It was tiny, because Parsifal has such a minor speaking role in Mystery of Thorns.
Because he's
under a blanket. He's in his blanket fort. But he sounded so stupid. He sounded really silly. And then when I re-listened to Sorcery of Thorns, he's quite normal. He's got a little bit of a fanboy-esqueness going on with him. But when I listened to the Mysteries of Thorn Manor, it was a little silly.
Well, he's in a blanket fort, Claire.
It was before he got into the blanket fort.
He's having fun in his
like,
blanket
hello,
fort.
hello, can I come out of the fort now? It sounded like he was just having his voice dropped when he's older than Elizabeth and Catriona. Because he was already a junior librarian. And that was back in Sorcery. And I
don't even recall it at all. So that tells you how much it affected me.
It was just the tiniest little bit. And to be fair, until I'd listened to the book 1 again, it really wasn't the surprise, but it made me go, oh. Otherwise, I was struggling with the surprise.
I might need to get the audiobook of Sorcery now, because I read that one paper copy, but like, this was before I even got an Audible membership, and now I can't read paper copies half the time anymore. So
it is a great audiobook. Like, Emily Ellett does an amazing job. She really, really does. I really enjoy it. And it literally was just that tiny little bit of Parsifal's voice in Mysteries that was huh?
You just went,
oh,
what?
Okay. Yeah,
What?
But then I got over it because it was such a tiny part, and I've listened to it twice, so I forgot about it the first time, and it wasn't until I'd re-listened, like I say, to Sorcery of Thorns, and went, oh, no, I'm surprised by that, and I was like, yay, I have a surprise.
Yay!
the rest you totally saw coming.
The rest I guessed. I know it just felt like a natural, very natural story. You know, nothing was too shocking for us to go, oh, okay. Like, when it was revealed that Silas was behind the wards being tweaked to bring out Uncle Hill's curse, I was like, yeah, that's about right. I agree that Silas would do that, so it wasn't surprising. It was like, yeah, that's on brand.
It did feel very organic. Like, a lot of spin-off series will kind of the most egregious example I can think of is more of a film example, but the Beauty and the Beast cartoon animated movie had, very defined characters, defined traits, and then the direct-to-video sequels to that turned Belle into a I want to fix him personality, and Beast into a helpless, uneducated oaf, instead of just he, didn't care, so he didn't bother. Like, it was, and even later editions, like an original scene that was cut was added back in, and it had those same like shades after the fact, and I hated that. And a lot of spin-offs can do that, where the characters aren't the same, and this one, everything was so organic and meshed, and it felt so natural. And just, okay, I read this book and this is just a natural continuation, and I loved it.
100% agree. 100%.
Is it time for Would You Rather?
We asked on social media, would you rather have a demonic servant who must obey your orders, or a house with wards to keep anybody you want out? Either delightful. On Facebook, 25% said servant and 75% said ward. On Instagram, 67% said they would have their demonic servant. And on TikTok, it was pretty close, with 54% servant and 46% house wards. Very close. We are no longer doing Twitter/X/whatever the heck it's called anymore.
Yeah.
It is
Nobody's sad about that.
No, it is an update only, so if you followed us on Twitter, please find us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, YouTube, a podcast searcher, Spotify. Patreon. Yeah, find us on Patreon.
Find us on Patreon.
Patreon's the best.
Sure.
Definitely. Patreon's amazing.
And then also give us some money.
Yeah.
I feel like I haven't asked for money in a long time.
Not naturally.
I give them money.
Yay!
And I also love them.
And that's why you're here.
And we love you, not just because you give us money.
Right. I mean, I said that after the love is with. That's also the reason why you're here.
I did not buy your friendship. I pay money so I can support you, because I love what you create.
Yeah. Yay. And you were a super fan and involved with us before you started giving us money, so.
I started giving you money because I actually loved you more after getting to know you.
Aw, yay. Aw, that's really sweet. Everyone listen to Brie and do what Brie says to do.
Brie is smart. Be more like Brie.
Everyone be like Brie. We have some comments.
Yes, we do. Annie, media. On Threads, she and I had, she's wrote that Claire Drinks Take Me, and I had a discussion about being snowed in by oneself or with people during Jane and the excellent read-along. We both agreed we wanted to be left alone with our books, so definitely house with wards, preferably one with a booming magical voice that says, "Go away, I'm reading!"
I like that.
I do too.
Can I join in on that? I mean, not the Jane read along.
You can come into the house. There will be everybody has their own room. Okay. But in like the communal area, probably in the giant foyer, we'll have the fort.
Yes.
The pillow blanket fort.
The blanket foyer. Yeah.
Yes, but everybody has their own room, and don't have to talk, or you can have your completely own house.
Okay.
It's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Eric Finn on Instagram said, "It depends on what the demon is getting paid. If Black Butler taught me anything, it's that they do all that servant stuff in exchange for your soul." So I think I'll take the house instead, LOL. I mean, you just have to give a little bit of soul, a little bit of time of your life.
It's just too soul.
I like Silas better than Sebastian, honestly, but that's just me.
I've never experienced Black Butler, so
I've had a little bit of vicarious experience, and it has good things and bad things like everything. Anyways, Glim Glam Jen on Instagram says, Demon! I want him to drive me around with his superhuman reflexes. Traffic in Memphis is crazy.
Oh, poor Glim Glam Jen.
It's a good reason. Avoid traffic.
Yeah.
Very
it's a
good reason.
It's a good
if
reason.
You get a demon that flies, even better.
Yeah.
Tails T and Thee on Instagram, which is a fantastic handle, says, a demon who must do my bidding. I'm tired of adulting. There's so much love to delegate. I'm tired of adulting. Can we just I have to have a treat every time I adult.
I don't mind
Harry Potter.
I'm fine. Fine with it. Drew on Facebook said, seems more efficient to have the house.
True.
Yeah.
Those topiaries. You can train them.
Yeah.
Vincent, yay! On Facebook says, I'm going for the servant. I despise washing up and ironing, so at the very least, it can do that.
Sure.
Mood.
And Colin on Facebook says, gonna have to go with the servant. It cooks, it cleans, it terrifies people off my property with its hideous visage and sinister growls. Let's talk about me. Amanda, have you got some from the library for us, please?
Yes, we do have some comments from the library, and they're very Black Butler heavy. One says demonic servant, and they've drawn horns around their text.
Nice.
And a tail.
And they said that Black Butler is their favorite because Sebastian is sexy AF. And then someone else drew an arrow to that and said, I was gonna say house, but you've convinced me otherwise, probably with the sexiness of Sebastian. And then someone else said demonic servant for sure. He/they could acquire anything I wanted, and they could be an interesting companion.
Oh.
So that's fun.
Leave the help alone.
Don't have relations with your servant. That's probably not. Yeah. I feel like you should relieve them of their duties if you're going to have relations.
It just reeks of British aristocracy picking era.
Honestly, are we doing our answers now? Or...
Yeah.
I'm with Nathaniel on this one. I want the house with the wards because it keeps people out that you don't want getting in. You can have your alone time. It's good security. And I would just feel bad ordering this sentient being around who, even if we weren't on friendly terms, I wouldn't want to provoke them. And it would just make me feel dirty, but not in the good way.
Yeah. I there's always that chance that the demon's gonna turn on you. So I'm gonna have my house. I'm gonna have the house too. I like house.
I'm antisocial. I don't want to talk to people, and if the wards can keep me free and I can have some interesting topiary chase them around, so much the better.
Yeah, and if you live in Nathaniel's house and there's all sorts of hidden rooms all over the place that have been there for forever, and you're like, oh, I forgot about that one, that would be fun. It would be fun to explore.
Exactly. If I can afford Nathaniel's house, then I can afford a housekeeper and some actual proper servants to come in, and they don't have to live there. They just have to come in for the day, do what they need to do, and then they can go home working a nice 8-hour shift 4 days a week. That's all I ask. That's all I ask.
And they get benefits.
Yes. And they will get a pension.
Yes.
Everything else is,
insurance.
It's national service.
Yeah. Next question. Would you rather be a warden or a conservator? I feel like I don't have to answer this question. Being the public librarian in the room.
Well, I'm curious. So you would rather do book maintenance and repair and preservation over kicking the butts and delivering?
I have to keep the books safe.
Yeah, I'm going with you on that one. I feel like I would have a lot more fun and a lot less injuries working with my hands and, being a little book doctor person, and I would have more fun doing the polishing and the massaging and the being nice to the books. And I'll let the more chemistry minded people handle the chemicals and the medical stuff.
Yeah, I would just make a mess of everything. So let me just...
We should start a book spa together, or a grimoire spa.
We should do that.
I want a big sword.
Very good.
You can be the security at the grimoire spa.
As interesting as being a conservator would be, and I would really enjoy that as well. I would love that. Bookbinding is something I'm actually tempted to, pick up as a hobby. I want a big sword.
Good answer.
I feel like if I was a warden, I would be a shield basher, because I can hide behind something and then just boom, 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 and yeah.
Oh, I'm going full Valkyrie. Those grimoires have turned into big monsters. They're going to Valhalla.
I just want to read them.
Too late. They're reading you, and they're reading you to hell. Reading,
but you have to tame one so you can have your Pegasus.
Anywho. Would you rather dance with Nathaniel or dance with Silas?
I feel like dancing with Nathaniel would be sillier and more ridiculous than dancing with Silas. Well, I think that Silas would be a good, he would be a good dance partner. He would lead well, but I feel like I could be sillier with Nathaniel. So I'm going to pick Nathaniel.
Nathaniel is disco. Silas is the waltz.
Yeah.
I'm going to do tango with Silas.
Oh, that would be fun. That would be fun.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with Silas just because we can switch up styles mid dance and go with the music, and I don't really talk much while I'm dancing anyways, so I just want to have fun and look fabulous.
That's a good answer.
Yeah. Oh, I think Silas would be a better lead. I want to go Silas.
Nathaniel will have better banter, though.
Yeah, I'll just keep Nathaniel to myself. It's fine.
I don't need to talk. I just want to have fun and dance, and I think Silas would make sure that happened.
Silas would also be able to handle two of us at once with dance partnering.
Well, you can. We'll have them on different nights. It's fine.
I've done those one lead, two follows dances. They are fun.
Fine. Well, after we've had the or during the pillow fort, blanket fort wars, we can have a dance break and have a dance party.
See, I feel like Nathaniel would be leading the dance party because it's very ridiculous.
Yeah, he'll lead the dance party, and Silas is just off in the corner showing people how to do it all,
Oh, he's doing it properly.
Yeah.
He's teaching you the steps to the Macarena. Why he chose the Macarena, I have no idea.
Why did he choose the Macarena?
I don't know.
Why? Because Nathaniel told him the Macarena.
Because Nathaniel told him to, yes.
That was the one order he obeys.
He's like, fine, sir.
That's... No! Oh my god! Why?
I don't know. I I don't
I'm
know.
really kind of
Best
honestly
image.
disgusted. And
Oh, I'm sorry.
And he's teaching it in cat form.
Yes, that would be even better. Perfect. He's just slightly disgusted the whole time.
oh,
But he
know for a
still
fact
does it.
Silas would hate it.
Yeah.
His like little snout and whiskers are bunching every time he has to do a movement.
Would Silas hate the Macarena or line dancing more?
The Macarena.
Like he's dancing
Yeah.
the Cotton Eye Joe or something like that.
Look, if we're dancing the Cotton Eye Joe, then I'll choose Silas.
I feel like the fashions for one are better than the other, so he would pick the better fashioned one.
Which fashion
Line
is
dancing,
better
you
in
have
that
more
case?
coordination. Well, line
Yeah,
dancing, you have
yeah.
more coordination, you have an aesthetic, you have like something established, and he could like mold it to his preferences. Whereas the Macarena is just its own. He would toss it in the destroyer.
He probably would.
Yeah, let's toss the Macarena into the Great Devourer or Destroyer. The Great
It's
Trash
Devourer.
Can. The Great Devourer Trash Can. Jeez. Can we move on? What
Yes.
were we up to number 4?
Would you rather go ice skating, have breakfast in bed, or a suit of armor that has been uncursed?
Well, I've already got a big sword.
I was about to
want the
say,
suit of
Claire
armor.
doesn't have to answer this one.
Thank you.
I want breakfast because I've been craving blackberry preserves. And there's a sandwich. It's got blackberry preserves, brie cheese, and bacon, and it's like a grilled cheese.
Nice.
It's delicious. My friend made it for me once.
Brie is the
And
best.
I want that for breakfast in bed.
Okay, well then I'll go ice skating. And we'll just do all 3.
Sweet. I'm going to go wafting around with a suit of armor wearing a silk robe as well.
Yeah. I
Clanking
would
around.
rather go roller skating than ice skating, but ice skating's still fun. Okay, Brie, do you have a would you rather for us?
Would you rather have access to a great devourer that makes empty, whiny threats at you? Or would you rather have access to topiaries, animated topiaries, who may or may not attack you depending on their mood?
Well, we've already established in question 1 that we have the house with the wards and the topiary, so I'm going to have the Great Devourer in the basement for garbage disposal purposes.
For Macarena disposal purposes.
For Macarena disposal purposes. You come to my door with the Macarena, you're going down the freaking Great Devourer. I also want to know how you got past the wards.
Yeah,
It's the greatest of evils.
they probably fed the topiaries something to bribe them.
They just did it in a circle. Macarena. Oh, God, I feel sick.
I think I'll take the Great Devourer as well. Because I don't want the topiaries to turn on me. I mean, I would be nice to them. I would treat them well. But, you know, if they're just going to randomly turn, I don't want that to happen. So give me the Devourer.
I'm gonna
For
go
the
with
Macarena.
the topiaries because I'm gonna go with the topiaries just because they're less whiny about me being around them and using their services. I don't know. I did not like the Great Devourer. He was petty, but not in the fun way.
But Silas is so much harder than him. It's like, dude. Seriously. Eat the robe, have a side order of Macarena, and go back to the party as a cat.
Yeah, it's like he's feeding you. He's letting you have some fun time out of the hell dimension.
Yeah.
Like, be nice.
Feeding you snacks. Shut up.
I feel like the topiaries would be grateful for snacks.
The topiaries
They
would be grateful
probably
if you
would.
didn't go around chopping their heads off.
Probably
too.
that as well.
You could train them.
Okay. Favorite final thought quote? Brie, why don't you go first?
My ones are mostly, well, okay, so there's like kind of fun and then funny and then kind of in between. This one's kind of serious. There's no such thing as a good demon mistress, Silas interjected softly, bending past her to place something on the table. Merely those who have manners and those who do not. And next one is probably my favorite of Elizabeth's little thoughts. Not every story has a happy ending, but most do if you are brave enough to keep reading to the end.
Oh, I do love
like
that one.
one.
Yeah, I love that one.
Yeah. And last one, which is more fun. I care not what they think or say, and I must ask, if you possess the option to spend the next 24 hours in the form of a cat, his eyes flicked meaningfully toward the windows where the crowd waited outside, teeming, Elizabeth imagined, with a multitude of starving cousins, would you not gladly consider it? That is a mood.
I would love to be a cat if I could be a cat.
And avoid the starving cousins.
Yes.
Bloody cousins.
Claire, what do you got?
I've got 3. Okay, this one's a bit longer. Won't the Collegium give you glasses that fit? Nathaniel asked at last in frustration. These don't fit on purpose. What? It's distracting, Catriona said. You wouldn't believe what people will tell you when they're too busy being annoyed by your ill-fitting spectacles to pay attention to what you're saying. I love that, because though my glasses do fit, it annoys me when I have to push them up on my nose. So I don't know what it must be like for other people. This is the harshest rule I feel like Silas has ever said in the next one. No swords at the breakfast table, mistress, Silas had ruled. Terrible ruling. And then a Nathaniel quote. Yes, my terror. He respects Elizabeth and her physicality.
It's important.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
What have you got, Amanda?
Her wardrobe, Master Thorn, I shall not go near it. It is a stain upon your house. Never before or since have I beheld garments so disgracefully out of fashion. I love how much he hates all of her clothes.
Wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Be so pretty in pink.
According to my ancestors, nothing screams romance like a good old-fashioned duel to the death. And finally, when you've grown up in a library with talking books for friends, there are some things you don't think to question.
Like it.
Point.
I like it.
Yes, yes. Okay. If you liked this, try this. I feel like mine is going to be really like nobody's expecting it, so I have reasons for choosing the one that I chose, though.
Okay.
Do I
Brie,
get to
do
go
you wanna
first? Okay.
Oh,
Yes, Brie, you should go first.
Okay, I can do this. Okay, so I chose a graphic novel called Tea Dragon Society by Katie O'Neill. And it... Oh, yay! It looked... I haven't read it yet, but it looked amazing and cute and fluffy, just like this novel.
It is really easy reading. If you've liked any of our middle grades, you'll like this as well. It is cute and adorable. And all the creatures in it are just delightful.
See, so perfect wholesomeness to pair with Mysteries of Thorn Manor. And description from Goodreads is, from the award-winning author of Princess Ever After comes The Tea Dragon Society, a charming all-ages book that follows the story of Greta, a blacksmith apprentice, and the people she meets as she becomes entwined in the enchanting world of tea dragons. After discovering a lost tea dragon in the marketplace, Greta learns about the dying art form of tea dragon care, taking from the kind tea shop owners, Ezekiel and Eric. As she befriends them and their shy ward, Minette, Greta sees how the craft enriches their lives and eventually her own.
There's also a tabletop game for it as well, and it's a series, and it's adorable. And I've got this tabletop game. I don't have the rest of the books, but they are on my wish list. And the game is adorable. It's adorable. Underlined.
So,
Claire, what's your book?
This is one I haven't read, but is on my wish list, and I say it's on my wish list. I've taken a picture, I've circled it several times, and I've heavily implied that I want it for my birthday. Colin, just so you know, Colin, thanks. It's called Ink Blood Sister Scribe by Emma Torres, and the summary is from Waterstones, where there's a lovely special edition with sprayed edges, and it's a signed edition, Colin.
hint, hint.
Some books should never be opened. A spellbinding, edge-of-your-seat thriller, Ink Blood Sister Scribe follows a family tasked with guarding a trove of magical but deadly books. Hashtag not tenuous link. And the shadowy organisation that will do anything to get them back. Even murder. Joanna Coulter lives alone in the woods of Vermont, the sole protector of a collection of rare books, books that will allow someone to walk through walls or turn water into wine, books of magic. Her estranged older sister Esther moves between countries and jobs and constantly changing, never staying anywhere longer than a year, desperate to avoid the deadly magic that killed her mother. Currently working on a research base in Antarctica, she has found love and perhaps a sort of happiness. But when she finds spots of blood on the mirrors of the research base, she knows someone is coming for her and that Joanna and her collection are in danger. If they are to survive, she and Joanna must unravel the secrets of their parents kept hidden from them. Secrets that span centuries and continents and could cost them their lives.
Oh, interesting.
I'm
It's
very
like
excited
Sorcery
for
of
it.
Thorns meets The Thing.
That's what it
That's
sounds
what I
like.
thought. That's what I thought. And I'm like, I'm there for that. So yeah. Okay, Amanda,
can dig it.
what's your unexpected recommendation?
My unexpected recommendation is another 1.5
Oh, hashtag tenuous link.
hashtag tenuous link 1.5 without a 2. And I am going to suggest The Nada Tapes by Don Kurtagich, because everyone knows how much I love Don Kurtagich. And I really enjoyed this little extra bit from The Dead House. So, The Nada Tapes. There is a box that should never have been discovered, and a warning beneath the lid. This was for Caitlin. It was a mistake. Forget this box and leave the aisle. Don't look any further. I'm begging you. NCD 2005. After the inferno that swept through Elmbridge High, claiming the lives of 3 teenagers and causing one student, Carly Johnson, to disappear, Nada Chunan Dupre was locked away for the good of society. But that wasn't the end of the story, because you can't play with the devil and not pay the price. And then there's another sentence that I didn't need to read. The chilling psychological horror of the Dead House returns with never-before-seen footage of the Nada Tapes. So I really loved it, because everyone knows how much I love the Dead House.
It's Don Kurtagich.
It's Don Kurtagich, one of my most favorite books of all time. And there's a tiny little bit extra, so everyone needs to check it out.
Totally not tenuous link.
No, not at all. It's fine.
Do we have a tenuous link in our Unity Spotlight, though?
Not really?
Oh.
I know, I'm sorry. This one just came to us in an email, like full-on PDF. The entire thing came to us in an email,
mint.
Today.
Oh, wow.
So I feel
Please send us books. I love books.
I know. So it's only fair that that I mention this one. It's called
Mark copies for everybody.
Yay! It's called Onestonia, Pursuit of the Light Cipher by Emery Frost. This is a self-pub, everyone, but it sounds very interesting. A life sustainer is held captive deep underground, and the only one able to descend below the surface is the most unlikely of tribesmen. Enemy blood flows through Tolkien's veins, making him an outcast to his tribe, yet now he is their only hope. A critical event is drawing near, the birth of a life sustainer, which only happens with perfect alignment of the 2 sister moons and the light cipher, a light decoding tool from the gods. Now a desperate race is on as Tolkien embarks on a quest fraught with danger. Can he deliver the light cipher and life sustainer in time before the moons align, or will his failure cause all he has ever cared for to perish?
Interesting.
With stakes.
Interesting.
We got that in an email today, and apparently it has taken the author 14 years to write. So we hope that they've put a lot of effort into it. It sounds interesting just from the blurb.
Yes.
So that's it. That's it for this episode of Fictional Hangover. I'm Amanda.
I'm Claire.
And I'm Brie.
Thanks for joining us, Brie. Thanks for joining us
Thank
in this
you.
discussion. It was lots of fun.
We love you.
We do love you. And,
Thanks
you know,
for
you'll have to
having me,
come
always.
on for an entire episode next time. Because that's just how the
I'm
progression
leveling up.
goes. You are leveling up, yes. Join us next time as we discuss A Study in Charlotte by Brittany Cavallero. Look out for our Would You Rather polls on social media. Don't forget about our book club and monthly challenges on Facebook. Be sure to visit our shop on Redbubble at fictionalhangover.redbubble.com for all your favorite Fictional Hangover themed merchandise, and become a patron of ours on Patreon at patreon.com/fictionalhangover. Until next time, remember, the only cure for a fictional hangover is another book.
You can find us at fictionalhangover.com. Follow us on Instagram, Threads, TikTok and YouTube at Fictional Hangover. And find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Fictional Hangover. If you like this episode, check out our others and be sure to rate, review and subscribe so you don't miss out. And finally, special thanks to Liz Emerson for our music. You can find her on Facebook and Patreon. Thanks for listening.